72 years ago today, 5 children, a mom, and a member of the West Virginia National Guard were left in a state of pure terror. Their words were a jumbled mess, and many of them said they felt nauseated from the pungent mist as they fled the scene. But what could they have seen that would terrify them to their very core? And how has this legend affected the way we see the world today? Hi. Recently, I went on my little vacation to Point Pleasant, West Virginia to look at the Mothman Museum and see all the other cool Mothman things that they had there. It was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed the trip, but while we were there, we of course ran into some other cryptids. While we were looking through everything, my mom pointed out a cryptid that she thought was really cool and kinda cute, that cryptid being the subject of this video. The Flatwoods Monster is a cryptid I had always heard about and seen pictures of, but I never spent much time researching it. But given its popularity at the cryptid stores, I decided to research it and make a video about it. As a side note, I will quickly go over what a cryptid is before going into detail on the Flatwood Monster case. As a double side note, I love how the first two cryptids I ever made videos on are from West Virginia, and the first urban legend video I made is from Virginia. I know the memes always state that Ohio is the crazy place that defies reasoning, but the Virginias seem like a dangerous place to live at, given all the crazy stuff that I keep hearing about. I don't know, just a funny thing I noticed while researching this topic. But cryptids, what are they? Cryptids are generally an animal-like entity that many people believe could possibly exist, but has to be proven. Most of these creatures come from the stories and folklore of the area they reside in, unlike mythological creatures which are generally thought of as a fictional entity. People have since created cryptozoology, cryptozoology, a pseudoscience that aims to prove the existence of cryptids through anecdotal stories and claims that have been largely rejected by the science community at large. An example of this is the okapi, also known as a forested giraffe. They were considered a cryptid for a long time due to the fact it was rarely seen and seemingly impossible to find. However, in 1901, Sir Harry Johnson discovered an okapi skeleton in the wild and sent it to the British Museum, where it became classified as a new species. But now that we know what I'm talking about when using the term cryptid, I want to discuss the story of the Flatwoods Monster, what it could be, and how it has impacted the area the story is derived from. On the night of September 12, 1952, brothers Edward and Fred May, alongside their friend Tommy Heyer, reported seeing a bright object cross the sky and land in the area around the property of local farmer G. Bailey Fisher. The kids were 13, 12, and 10 respectively, and when asked what they were doing, the three of them stated that they were playing in the schoolyard at the time they saw the light. Out of curiosity, they left to go check out what it was they saw. The Mays house was on the way to the area where the object had landed, so the three of them stopped there to tell Kathleen Mays, who I will be referring to as Kathleen for the rest of the video, about what it was they saw. Before they left, Kathleen got National Guardsman Eugene Lemon to join them in their search, and for some reason 2 other boys by the name of Neil Nunley and Ronnie Shaver just kinda appeared out of nowhere to join them. I'm not joking. Out of the documents I've read through, each one either didn't mention the 2 kids by name, or they just appeared in the story at some point and just simply stuck around. So my main guess is that the kids probably told them about it, and so they stayed to join the hunt. But I'm not sure where or when that was, but hey, here they are. On a more lighthearted note, the mother brought the family dog Richie with them on the investigation. In all, there was 5 kids, a woman, a National Guardsman, and a dog, which is a pretty decent sized search party in my opinion. The 7 of them went out to the area. They reported that there was nothing strange about it until they reached the top of a hill. Upon reaching the top of a hill, they noticed a red glow emanating from in front of them. Then, as Eugene Lemon lifted his flashlight, Everyone was horrified by what they saw. Descriptions vary, but most report something similar. A 9 to 10 foot entity with a spacesuit hood surrounding its head. It was reported that the creature had a round red head with eyes that emanated a greenish orange light. It apparently had a dark green metal dress of sorts with small claw-like hands. Upon seeing the creature, it hissed and glided towards the group with its clawed hands extended in front of it. Lemon reportedly screamed and dropped the flashlight, the group running away from the entity before reporting it. The group also reported a sudden, pungent mist that nauseated some of them due to its foul stench. After making the report, though, police and investigators stated they saw, heard, and smelled nothing. So, what was the Flatwoods Monster then? In the year 2000, Joe Nickell, a member of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, had been investigating the case before providing his explanation as to what happened. He deduced that the bright light that shot across the sky was simply a meteor. The red light they reported was some sort of aircraft navigation or hazard beacon of sorts, and that the creature was nothing more than an owl. His explanation for all of this is one that several other skeptics and the Air Force agree with. His explanation goes something like this. The group's perception was already distorted due to their heightened state of anxiety and due to the fact that it was late at night and they were possibly tired from the day's activities while out investigating. Nickell pointed out that on the night of September 12th, there were reports of a meteor shooting across the sky in 3 different states, those states being Maryland, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, respectively. He also pointed out that 3 flashing aircraft beacons were also visible from the area of the sightings. I did my own research into this claim, and it seemed plausible that an aircraft beacon would be in this area, but I don't understand why it would be so far away from the airport itself. Based on the maps I've found on Google after extensive research, the Braxton County Airport is 3.9 miles away from the Flatwoods of West Virginia. Unless the beacon is between 2 to 4 miles away from the airport, I'm not sure what its purpose is. If someone can explain that to me in the comments, then it would be greatly appreciated. Another thing I want to point out is that I'm positive a group of 7 people would be able to identify that this glowing red light was a beacon rather than something otherworldly. Sure, maybe their anxiety caused them to be on edge, but I don't believe it would change their perception drastically enough to cause them to perceive this piece of machinery that Eugene Lemon, of all people, would most likely be familiar with as something else. But I digress. Finally, given the flight patterns and the way that the monster screeched at them, Nickell deduced that the entity was most likely a startled barn owl that was perched on a branch above some foliage. This would explain why I just stayed alongside the claim that the entity had short, claw-like hands that reached out in front of it. His explanation for its height was that the bird was sitting on a branch, and as for the dark green dress it wore, he deduced that it was simply a bush or bit of foliage that sat below and around the bird, giving it the silhouette of the monster's general shape. For those of you asking about the strange smell and the nausea, skeptic Ryan Haupt explained that feelings of nausea are common in those who have just suffered from hysteria and overexertion, and the smell could be caused by a multitude of reasons such as a dead animal or a skunk possibly. As for my belief in the creature, similar to the Mothman video, I love the idea of this entity being a real creature. I think it looks really cool and I love the overall atmosphere surrounding the entity itself, but as with the Mothman video, when I apply rational thought to the situation, I can see why people don't believe this story is real. And I think, aside from what I stated before, Nickell's explanation of what happened is very cohesive and it explains a lot of the mysteries found in the story itself. But now that we know the legend of the Flatwoods Monster, how has it affected the town it's derived from and overall the rest of the world? Similar to the Mothman Festival celebrated in Point Pleasant, the town of Sutton hosts an event called the Flatwoods Monster Festival. Alongside this, they have a Flatwoods Monster Museum which is dedicated to the legend. And across the town you can find chairs shaped like the Flatwoods Monster. And it is stated that if you take a picture with all 5 of them, the visitor's bureau will reward said visitor with free Braxi tickets. And finally, the Flatwoods monster has appeared in several games, the most notable one being Fallout 76. Some other games he is featured in are a PS2 golf game called Hot Shots Golf 4, where you can see him lurking in the tree line, and Amagon, an NES game where he is the final boss. The Romani Ranch alien designs are based on the monster, and it seems like he appears as a boss in a game called Space Harrier. I also found his likeness in these 2 games, but I don't know their names, and so if anyone knows what these games are called, please comment it down below. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for watching this video. It genuinely means a lot to me. Cryptids are something that I have found fascinating for a long time. Even though I wasn't always researching them, I always found an interest in learning about their stories and where they came from. And it means a lot to me that people would take the time out of their day to watch me ramble about a random cryptid that appeared one time in West Virginia. And who knows, maybe some of you learned something new about this cryptid that y'all didn't know before. But as always, thank you all for watching. It again means everything to me, and I'm glad that people find my videos at least somewhat interesting. And so I hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, and I will see you all in the next video.